as I was losing weight and when I stopped drinking, it was very interesting how people in my life, how they reacted.
How did you find carnivore?
I found carnivore through my son, actually. He was on carnivore a few years ago and really thrived on it. And at that time, I wasn't ready. I was so used to doing, like low carb, low fat, counting calories, or just wasn't ready to, change my diet. So I saw his success, and then he he lives in Chicago. He went back home, and time went by, and last year I just hit an all-time low of my weight, or all-time high actually of my weight. I was up to 249, and I had gone to the doctor, and I was pre-diabetic, and my blood pressure was really high. My cholesterol has always been kind of high, but it was really, really high. And so I just was feeling horrible. And I don't know, I just needed a change. So I still wasn't into carnivore yet. Um, I came back home, got sick, really, really sick. And then it was just the changing point. And I'm like, I really have to do something. So then my son's like, just try carnivore again, just try carnivore. And I was like, all right. But I know you kind of have to ease into carnivore, especially after, just being a free for all, eating everything. And drinking everything. And so I decided I'm going to go lower calorie and low carb just to start getting the carbs out and get used to eating less. So then I had a series of events happen after my sickness. I had a really bad car accident, and my car was totaled, and I was so lucky I was alive. And then after that, I had to get a new car, and I was having PTSD from all of that trauma. And in the meantime, I still was losing weight, and I was sticking to the plan of going into carnivore. And then we had the hurricane last year, not this hurricane, the one prior. And so I had to evacuate. So I went up to Chicago, drove up to Chicago, all stressed out from my 3 near-death events here. And so then when I got there, he started me on carnivore. He was cooking, he cooks really well. And so that was my journey, all that trauma to have a great landing in Chicago with carnivore meals, and started on that journey. And then he came back with me, and we decided, because he wanted to get back on carnivore as well. So we decided to do the journey together. And we decided just to go really strict. And so he was, cooking our meals, and he was monitoring me and really helping me, and helping me work through like cravings and acting like a 5-year-old child, like, no, I want this, I want that. And I also gave up drinking. And so it was like a double whammy, which is good. Needed to. And so we just started that journey together, and we started walking and eating well, and just he has some health issues too, and his anxiety, depression disappeared, and his skin issues with eating wheat and sugars, they disappeared. And um, time just kept going, and he ended up losing some weight, and I was just on target, and I started dropping weight like it was falling off of me. And then I just felt so good. I have a list of what disappeared as I was doing it. Um, so all the ailments disappeared, were skin tags, and I had a lot of pain. I had fibromyalgia. My inflammation was gone. Brain fog was gone. Depression and anxiety and snoring and sleep apnea, as well as all the pounds, which totaled 75 pounds by March, or actually April of this year. And just even surprisingly, like bad breath and body odor and all the cravings for sugar and carbs, everything was gone. Like I felt renewed, and I gained the ability to think clearly, and energy. I had so much energy and enthusiasm for life. It like totally changed my whole outlook on life, and just the ability to deal with crisis better, and emotions. and I had cognitive clarity and my eyesight improved and I was standing straighter and my gray hair, which is weird, it turned brown. It was a lot grayer before I started carnivore and then it was turning darker as I was eating carnivore.
That's awesome.
And And so then I don't know, I just felt a change of personality and a change of having confidence and just this euphoria. Like my soul was just so happy. My soul was singing. It's like I needed this for a long time. Why haven't you done this before? You know? And so that was all through like the winter and then the new year came and we were still, on our routine. And then I just decided to move cities. And as I was losing weight and when I stopped drinking, it was very interesting how people in my life how they reacted. Some were supportive and there for me and like, yay, finally you're doing it, you're really sticking to something and you look great. And others, just it was interesting how they were just not able to do it, which I understand, because they probably were coming from a place of wanting to change as well. And when you see someone change and you can't do it, and and the other person's doing it, and but it was all good, and I just was actually happy. Like I was in a point in my life where I needed to release like a lot of stuff and to start new. And so I moved and just started, with carnivore. My son was here with me, and that was last March. And then he left in April, and I was still doing really, really well and adjusting to my new life. And then I just was feeling like, who am I now? I'm not drinking. I'm not going out to eat. I'm not, that's just not my social life. How do you relate to people if you're not eating and drinking? Because that's usually what everyone does, right? All the groups eating and drinking. And I'm not like an athlete, so it's not like I'm going to join a running club or that's just not my forte or biking or whatever. So um anyways, so then I after my son left, I had like a feeling of emptiness in a sense, So I was working through it. And then I was like, oh, I'll just go out for a little. I wasn't drinking yet again. And I'm like, oh, I'll just eat out. I'll eat carnivore out, But I don't know, the restaurant food, I don't know about anyone else, but it does something to my body and just triggers me. And it just sends me down this rabbit hole of probably all the seed oils on there and the sugar and just
So it
then
sends you down a rabbit hole as in, kind of gets you re-addicted or just makes you sick?
it both. It made me actually, I was like, oh, I forgot how great this is, kind of thing, like, because I've been heavy since I was 11. So I've been on and off diets. And, when you inevitably go off the diet and you taste that first piece of pizza or whatever, you're like, oh God, this is like the best thing ever. So that's kind of how I was feeling. I was like, oh, I forgot how good this is. And so then I was like, oh, well, I'll just have like a burger, but I'll have bun. And then I just slowly, and then I'm like, I'll just have a few French fries. And then I just kind of slowly was adding stuff in. And then inevitably, I'm like, oh, I'll just see how I feel with a drink, because I would go out for a while, it wasn't like every day. And then I would be, carnivore, and then I'd go shopping and I'd buy kind of like I'm like, "Oh, let's have some ice cream today or something." And dairy is not my friend. I love dairy, but it does not love me. I gain weight from it, and I had read that it is like an opiate the way cheese is and dairy is, and I didn't know that like years ago. And I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense why I've always gone to pizza or ice cream when I'm stressed. And so then I just started eating out a few bit. My friends were, starting to visit me from where I used to live, and then we ate out, and it just kind of became a habit again. And then I was like, oh no, and I started gaining weight again. I gained like 10 pounds back. So then I decided and I was feeling all the pain again, and the inflammation's back, and cravings, and crabby. My friends are like, "Are you not eating carnivore anymore?" Because they all noticed before, not that I was a crabby, person or whatever, but it's just mood. I was happier back then, and I guess I'm not as happy not eating carnivore. I don't know, according to them. And so they're like, "What's going on?" And then I had to confess because I wasn't confessing to anyone. I was living a life in secret, hiding my eating out and now drinking a couple drinks, not that much, but so then I went strict carnivore again. Weaned myself, was going strict carnivore, and my 60th birthday came up. And last year, that was the one thing as well. I said when I turned 59, by the time I'm 60, I don't want to be this way. I want to be, healthier and feeling good and go into my new decade, sprinting into my new decade. And so so I had a great birthday weekend. And I just like, I'm just letting loose because I'm going strict after it. You know how we always say that first of the year after birthdays, whatever. So every excuse to party. But I really did realize that carnivore is what my body needs and what works best for me, regardless. And I just felt so horrible, like physically after the weekend. And it wasn't like drastic stuff. It was eating well and just a few drinks, but I'm just like, my body at this age, it's like, you've had enough years of partying since you were young. It's time. You got to release that. So,
And so what's the time frame now that you've been strict carnivore at this point?
well, my birthday was just a week and a half ago. So,
Oh, okay.
but I was a year. I was truly strict carnivore from October until April, till May, till June. So what is that? 10 months? 10 months or a year? Probably, I always say a year's journey, and I was down 75 pounds because that's when I looked at when I actually started getting towards the carnivore, weaning myself off the other foods. And
Right.
but I find it fascinating how people in general, when you say you're doing carnivore, when they're like, "How'd you lose your weight?" And I'm like, "Carnivore," and they're like, "Is that really healthy?" There's all this pushback about, "What about the fat? And what about this? And what about that?" And I'm like, "I have proof. Here's my numbers from before carnivore and after carnivore." And then they think that I exercise like crazy. I'm like, "No, I just took walks, maybe light walks, maybe once or twice a day." And I was flat. I never have had like a flat stomach, and my stomach was flat. My face was really cut, and it was nice.
Yeah. So, you think, now after that little break, do you think now that it's gonna be pretty easy to stick with it now?
Definitely, because I realize that this is the way that it works best for me, and I have been since last week. I've been eating carnivore, and I kind of eat intuitively sometimes, like, I forgot his name, Paul, who did the carnivore forever ago. What was the originator of the carnivore?
Oh,
Or
uh,
that's already
yeah, he eats honey and stuff now.
right, right.
Why has his name disappeared from my yeah, anyway, yeah, that guy.
You know who I'm talking about.
Carnivore MD, I just can't think of his name. Yeah.
Yes, I know, exactly. So, I just kind of follow a little bit. I don't follow his. If I feel my
Saladino.
yes, thank you. So I find that when I'm really strict carnivore, I need to vary it. I can have like 3 days of red meat, and then I'm like, my body's like, "You need something else." So then usually I'll throw in some fish, or shellfish. and lamb. I like lamb a lot.
Mm.
I tend to cook a lot ahead of time and throw it in the freezer so that way I don't have an excuse. Like, here, my carnivore meal's right here. It's set up and weighed for me, and I just pull it out and cook it up, you know. And if I feel like I need a little bread or I'll get sprouted, but that's not very often like anymore. I don't feel that. But it's like rice. I don't know what it is. My body is like, I need rice. So I'll just have like a little half a cup every maybe once a week or twice a week if I feel it.
You mentioned you got before and after numbers. Like, what are your numbers like now as far as you said, at the start, your cholesterol was very high, your blood pressure was high, you had pre-diabetes. How after that 75 pounds of weight loss, what has happened with those numbers?
The cholesterol, it was at let's see, 285, I think, when I started, and the last blood test, it was about 6 months ago. It was down to 235.
Mm,
And then it really has never, regardless what diet I'm on or how much weight I've lost in the past, that number is usually not like that low. It still usually stays high, probably because of the carbs and everything, sugars. But and then the pre-diabetes, I forgot what is it, like 100 to be over 100 to be pre-diabetic. I think it was 106, and then it was back down to something in the 80s. And
oh,
then my blood pressure was up really high, like, they were worried I was gonna have a stroke. At one point, it was, like, 170 over I can't think of the other number, but yeah, and then it was down to, like, 130 over 80, I think is the right number. So,
mm,
um, and my weight, I went, from 249 down to it was 2 what, 75 pounds down from that. It was a 1, see, I'm gonna say 2. I'm so used to always being in the 2s. I've been in the 200s for literally, like, my son is 28, like, 28 years I've been in the 200s. More than that, on and off, but, I was down to 178, I think I was, something like that,
mm.
give or take.
So, your son was the one that introduced you to this. How do you know how your son found out about it in the first place?
From Paul, from
From
Saladino.
Paul. Ah,
Yeah, I was trying to think, I think it was, what, 5 years ago? About 4 years ago when he was out? I can't remember. And yeah, he's an inspiration to me. And he says now I'm an inspiration to him. So, because he just wants to feel good as we all do, right? And it's a struggle sometimes because we can't be perfect. And like it's almost on carnivore, we have to I find for me, because I don't want to get like crazy in my head, like diet wise and whatever. And I want to have kind of like a balance, if that makes sense. But I want to stay really strict carnivore, but I want to listen to my body if it feels it needs a little something. And I know some people can stay 100% just meat animal, and like the cheese, I try and add the cheese in on carnivore, but I'm telling you, I gain weight. It's like, or I'm bloated, or do you have cheese issues or what?
yeah, well, I never thought I did, but once I gave it up, I think I had some kind of low level issues with it
Mm.
because I just lost weight very quickly. Do you think this is, I mean, obviously within a range of what you're comfortable with, but do you think this is it for you? Would you like to continue to eat this way going forward?
Yes, definitely. I would
Mm,
I would like to stay on this path because I feel the best and the healthiest. And as we age, we want to keep, my goal is to lose probably another 40 pounds, give or take. I mean, I'll let my body kind of settle where it needs to be, but I feel like I need to release more weight and
mm,
definitely and release the inflammation. So my thought is going forward, I think probably this week, like to be 100% like really strict. I mean, is that like the lion diet then when you're just like red meat? I
Yeah,
think, or
like red meat and salt. Red meat, salt, and water, that's lion, I guess, yeah.
so. And also, I find too that when I'm strict carnivore, I don't feel like I need to drink as much water. It's the strangest thing. Like, 'cause I'm always drinking tons of water, but when I'm eating more carbs or when I was back to my other diet, just like could not get enough water. It's like
Mm.
I felt so dehydrated.
Eh, yeah, I feel the same. I feel like when you're consuming a lot of carbohydrates, you just for something naturally, but you just, for some reason, you're just thirstier all the time.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to how I was and you know, just I felt like I was just down in the depths of despair. And it's just not a way to live life. And life is just so short. And I really want to go forward, enjoying every moment and being cognitively aware and being able to talk and think and communicate and have energy to have fun and find it's fun to be on this path of finding, I guess, myself and finding what else will satiate me other than, I mean, because you can still go out, but I'm just saying, just satiate me in a different way and not have food be my entertainment. And
It's really interesting how I feel like once you've been on carnivore for a certain amount of time, it gives you this ability to step back a little bit and realize that you were kind of using food a lot in your life. And I'm saying you as a collective you.
right,
Um, you're using food a lot in your life just as entertainment or to satisfy this need to be doing something that just very momentarily satisfies you. Would you feel the same way?
definitely. I mean, growing up, I depended, that was my emotional support, food, whenever I had some stress or whatever. And I always worked in restaurants and the food, so it was readily available, especially pizza. Pizza is my go-to. It's like my favorite.
Mm.
And especially being from Chicago, and I know other people have other pizza preferences and where we are from. So, but it just has everything. Like it's just warm, cozy, it's a big hug. And so when you have that growing up and through your whole life as your go-to to just calm yourself down or, fill yourself up. That's like your love, your go-to and get your love from your food. It is hard to break that. What was interesting in my other diets that I had been on, I could break that for a short time, but I always had to, when counting calories, I always had to make some sort of low-fat pizza. Like pizza was still always there. So I guess I still had to have my love, even if it was low fat and not as good as a regular pizza. But when I was strict carnivore, all that went away. So it was fascinating. And for my son as well, like his cravings all went away. And so, and it's fascinating once you break that. I don't know what it is. And I wasn't even craving anything. I mean, everything totally, I like one day, my son and I were walking. I said, "Oh my God, I'm like in no pain. I have no pain whatsoever." And I'm like, "And I haven't craved anything for, like, or wanted anything."
That's so interesting because it's just like you have a realization suddenly that that pain's gone or that feeling about food has gone or it's not something that it's almost like it kind of creeps up on you and
Mhm.
you just have this realization, it's behind me. It's like I didn't know it was approaching, but now I can feel it behind me, you know? Um, yeah, and it's an amazing realization, right? Especially
It
when the pain's gone.
Yeah, it was that, like, euphoric feeling like I was saying. I just really I sincerely had not felt that way, I think, since my early 20s or
Mm.
mid-20s, because I have fibromyalgia since 1993. And so I've just been accustomed to fatigue and brain fog and pain and everything, and really never had much of a break from it. And this was, yeah, a great break.
Mm,
So it baffles me as to why I felt the need to leave the carnivore diet for a period of time, like go back to my old ways, you know. I think it was just the readjustment of everything. I just that was so new to me and I didn't know what to do with it. And I'm like, I need my old comfort back for even though temporarily, but now I'm over that. I'm okay now.
yeah.
I don't I don't need that.
So a lot of the time, because you can kind of fix pain and things like brain fog and stuff like that with a carnivore diet. Um, I feel myself, and a lot of people I've spoken to seem to echo this, is that weight loss is great, but weight loss just becomes like the cream on the cake because there's so many other things that happen. So if you were gonna focus on one point that's been like the game changer for you, if and you're explaining to a friend this is why you need to try the carnivore diet, what's that one thing that stands out for you as the game changer?
I think it just depends on the person. If they're having a lot of pain, I would say then I'm testimonial of eating this way and not even 100% all the time. Still, the pain, disappeared totally, like totally disappeared. Like my one friend, I've been talking to her and kind of, guiding her. But if people aren't ready, they're not ready. And I'm not going to force anyone to do anything. But so I just feel if someone has pain, I would say follow this eating plan and your pain will go away. If someone is feeling okay, but just overweight, then I would say, I'm a testimonial to losing weight as well for that. And it's great for that. And it depends what the person is going through because, and a lot of people are resistant because it's just so foreign to them. And it was foreign to me. And I was resistant for years and years and years. And I had someone in front of me that I saw it worked really well for, but it's scary. People get scared. It's very interesting. That's what I have found when I talk to my friends and they're kind of maybe interested and but it's just a lot of fear. I'm not quite sure. I guess because we've been conditioned to believe that eating meat and fat causes all the health issues, but actually it's not true in so many ways.
Right, yeah, I mean, I saw a meme, on, social media the other day, and it said 90% of the foods in grocery stores didn't exist 90 years ago, and neither did most of the diseases, you know?
It's so true. Well, I was raised my grandma cooked and we, ate meat and we ate a balanced, what they consider a balanced diet, and I was always curious, because my family always had high cholesterol, but yet they're all thin. This is my mother's side. They're all thin. They all ate well, but yet they all had really extremely high cholesterol. And they're all on meds. I don't take any meds whatsoever. And, then my father's side, who is heavier, who ate, like, more of the meats, they're, Hispanic Honduran, and just ate that, like, had lower cholesterol. So, I was always amazed by that I don't know, that always baffled me until now. Now I understand.
So, you told me you prepare all your meals in advance, right? And you also said you, measure?
I do.
Yeah, what's the reason you're measuring?
Because I have found, I try and do OMAD or I do 2 meals, depending how I'm feeling that day. And so I found through experimenting in the last year, I've tried to eat a pound and that like I could never get a pound of meat down. And so then I just have worked backwards. So my sweet spot now is probably about 8 to 12 ounces for my one meal. And that pretty much keeps me satiated. Fish, sometimes I get a little hungry. So usually if I have fish, then I have 2 meals a day. But I just find that's what keeps me satiated, and that's what I could eat, and,
Okay. So I guess, I thought I kind of misunderstood when you said measure. So when you said measure, I'm thinking you're counting, calories or something, or macros or something like that, but it's basically just weighing.
it's weighing, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, I
and
should explain this better.
no worries. So I I totally get it about fish, like, you probably have to have, you know, 2 pieces, um, to feel satiated. Like, people often ask me in Japan why I don't eat sashimi, um, and for me, I enjoy it, but I feel like it's not gonna satiate me the same way that red meat will.
Mhm.
You know, I could sit there and eat pounds of sushi and still I'm gonna feel like I've got a little bit of a hole in my stomach, I think.
I
So,
agree.
yeah. Yeah, I think, something like lamb or beef or whatever is just much better all round to kinda make you feel full and have your energy level stable and stuff like that. Mm. So, uh, is it just a day by day thing for you, whether you do OMAD or 2MAD, or is it, you find you do on weekends, you're 2MAD, during the week you're OMAD or something like that? Is there any pattern?
Mm, I haven't thought about that. Let's see. I don't think there's a pattern. I think that the only pattern would be, and I don't eat eggs or chicken or pork. They don't agree with me. So, um, that limits my whole diet. But as far as I think OMAD is when I'm eating beef or lamb, consistently, then I do OMAD. But if I have fish or shellfish or something, it seems I'm hungrier the next day. Like I can eat if I have even 2 days, I have to think about this. Because I just kind of naturally do my thing. So yeah, because if I have, let's say, meat a few days a week, and then the next day I have shrimp or fish or whatever, it still can be one meal. And then the next day, though, that's when I find it's more like 2 meals that I need to fill up because I'm hungrier earlier in the day. And it depends on the fish I eat too. I eat butterfish. I love like the butterfish. Can't think of the true name of it right now. And that seems to keep me full because it's really fatty fish and it's so delicious. Just love it. And then salmon I get kind of hungry from. I've noticed that and other fishes like trout or um, shrimp. I don't know. I've been getting away from shrimp lately. I feel that shrimp is I'm feeling cravings from like after I eat shrimp. I don't know what that's about. Like I feel hungry or cravings. So do you find with other carnivores they have that sometimes too?
Uh, people I haven't had anyone mention that to me actually. And I've got no experience with it because I haven't I typically don't eat seafood, but,
Mm.
um, yeah, most carnivores I've spoken to that talk about seafood talk about it as a kind of add-on thing rather than on its own. So, if it's an add-on, then it's probably, it's not noticeable for them how satiating or not it is. Um, Interesting. So, Kim, do you have, any social media, a YouTube channel, anything like that that people can reach out to you?
Unfortunately, at this point, I don't, but I am a certified health coach as well as a mastery life coach. And I have been right now developing a program. If people want to reach out if they're interested, I'm starting a wait list. My program should be launched, I think, by November-ish, um, November, December, and they could reach me at the kimkelm@gmail.com.
Okay, Kim. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your journey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm a pleasure to be here and you're a pleasure, and I'm so thankful for you. And thankful for your program because it's really helped me and many other people, I'm sure.